Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I am delighted to bring my guests in a moment. These are two people, both of whom I've had on my show before, but never together. And I cannot wait. But first, I must catch up with my producer, the bad boy of podcasting himself, Tony Thaxton. Now, if you've been listening to my show, you know that he's been gone for the last, I don't know how long I think it was 2 months, but it felt like longer. And I was forced to badmouth him on every single show. And now he's back despite all the horrendous things I've said. Tony, welcome back.
I'm back, baby.
I missed you.
I missed doing the show. I missed doing the show.
It didn't seem like that. It didn't seem like
I
that
missed
from
doing
your
the show.
tweets.
I didn't say I missed you.
I mean, do I need to bring up the fact that there was a tweet that was like, it's been a real, boy, I really needed this tour. It's been a real garbage couple of years.
Well, I needed a change of pace. I've been doing these goddamn Zoom shows for a couple of years now.
I know.
I needed some human interaction, and I needed people to tell me I'm great.
I appreciate what you do for the show. Is that not good enough? Anyway.
This is the first time hearing of it.
I know. And, you know, since you've been gone, and I'm not talking about the song, I did have COVID. These are unrelated. Yeah. And since I've had COVID, it's now, there is something on my lip. People who are watching the video, if you'd like to see me pull a hair off my lip, Allison.
You really know how to draw.
YouTube.com/Alison Rosen. Later I'll talk about termites, possibly. I haven't in a couple years, but sometimes I like to talk about termites.
Alison Rosen, Alison's your new best friend.
What was I talking about, Tony? It's been that kind of
You
day.
had COVID.
Oh, yeah, COVID. And now that I have recovered, though, it's left me more nervous about going out because I don't want to get it again. I was
hoping it was going to do the opposite.
I know you were. I know. And so now I'm like even more loath to resume in person, even though I'm sure that I'll get there because
You're like the last podcast hanging on to Zoom.
I know, and I hate it so much, too. But listen, Elliot's going to start kindergarten. And then we'll be, he'll be around people all the time. And then we'll be like forced to be around people and stuff. And then we can go back to in person. And you had famously offered to pay me $40,000 for each episode we did in person.
That's right.
Does that still hold?
That still holds.
Okay, good.
I'd also just like to add, I was around thousands of people every night for 2 months, and I did not get COVID. Just
you
saying.
chalk that up to luck. What do you
I'm
make
just
of
I'm
that?
just very good at not getting COVID.
Dodging it.
Skills.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we left our house for 4.5 seconds and it found my 3-year-old and then it found the rest of us. Anyway, enough of that. I'm glad you're back. I hope you've thought about what you've done. Very, very excited about these guests. One of them, creator of Everybody Loves Raymond. He is the host and creator of Somebody Feed Phil, which is now in its 5th season on Netflix. Also joining him, a very esteemed music journalist, Rolling Stone, many others. There is not an awards show that does not have him at the helm. It's David Wild, longtime friends. Together, they have come. Yes, I'm making sure I've said everyone's name. You guys, I am on my 4th.
I don't think you did say everybody's name.
I didn't, did I?
No, I don't think
What
so.
am I doing? Are they just handing people podcasts? Have I ever done this?
You're thrown by me being back. It's making you nervous.
It is, Tony. I'm nervous around you. Okay. Please welcome to the show, Phil Rosenthal and David Wild.
Please sit down.
Together, they have a podcast called Naked Lunch. Please put your hands together again for Phil Rosenthal and David Wild. David Wild does award shows. Okay, hello, you guys. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for that lovely intro and the crowd. A little verklempt.
The intro went off without a hitch, right? It was smooth.
Yep.
It was. You've never heard something that was. It was as if I read from your bio that you sent over.
It's almost too much.
And David is dumbstruck.
I'm trying to figure out if verklempt is German or if it is Yiddish, and I don't know.
Well, in Yiddish, that it has some German in it.
Okay, well,
right.
A lot of
thank
German
you to my Jewish friend for the explanation.
Sure.
I've never known. I've never felt waspier than doing a podcast with Phil. I'm sort of.
Say that.
I like to think of myself. I feel like John Wayne.
I've had Hasidic rabbis say that.
So, I feel like Naked Lunch has been in the work, or rather, a podcast between the two of you has been in the works for a while, right?
David,
It was in development hell,
which means just in our houses.
Yes. Well, the truth is, we've been having lunch for. I think it was interesting. We did an episode with our wives, and it pieced together we're like, I think a lot of guys, we don't talk about like our lives that much. We just bullshit around and laugh a lot as a rule. We get to Springsteen. It's always like, how many minutes to Springsteen? This was not a long minutes to Springsteen break. But the truth is, like, we realized we met when I wrote a review of every new fall show and said they all sucked, and then ended with, in Rolling Stone, Every Loves Raymond being the greatest show in history. And it turns out Phil liked that review and invited me to lunch. And literally, I've been getting, so far, 98% free lunches since then.
All you have to do is say something nice, Allison.
Exactly.
Wait, what accounts for the 2%?
I think he's exaggerating.
Yeah. I picked up a couple checks. I'm not even cheap, but I'm just, for the podcast, I'm trying to get the persona of the cheap
You're
one.
like the Jack Benny
Yes.
podcast.
I'm the waspy
Yes.
cheap one. I'm going against type.
I see. So, well, that was going to be my question. How did you guys meet? So it's because you wrote something nice about Phil, and then he reached out to you.
Yeah, I called to thank him and said, let's have lunch. And then we've been having lunch for 25 years, and we always bring friends. And he'll bring, somebody great from the world of music sometimes, and I'll bring like a sitcom actor or somebody. And at the end of every lunch, I always said we should be taping this. And so now we are.
And one of those friends, like an example, is Brad Paisley, who I've been working with for, as a musician and a host and things for, many years. And now basically Phil has stolen him away from me, their best friend. So he wrote us a theme song. So we actually, it's like this friendship stuff works out when you exploit you people and make them come on your podcast and write you theme songs.
Yeah, Allison, you're not the only one with a fantastic theme song.
Thank you very much. I know we've talked about theme songs before. I love the theme song to your podcast, just like I love the theme song to your show, Phil.
Thanks.
Somebody feed Phil. That song is great, Phil.
That's Lake Street Dive. You're right. You can never underestimate the power of that. I think most people didn't even really like Friends.
Yeah,
I can't let that stand.
They were there for that.
I'm kidding. Please don't come to my house, Marta Kaufman.
David Wild, you wrote a book about Friends.
No, I wrote 2 books.
Oh my God.
Two bestsellers.
Give us.
It's like.
Go ahead.
Yes, it'll give you. I'm sorry. Give us anything you want. You're my new best friend.
Give us some exclusive gossip or dirt on anyone involved with Friends, please.
I don't have to sit here and tolerate this.
Yes, exactly.
I had to. By the way, before you do, and I'm sure we all want to hear it. I would come home from work and my daughter would be on the couch watching Friends, and I would go, again? Like I know she saw this episode 10 times already. And I would say, again with this show. She goes, Friends is the best sitcom ever. And I said, isn't that nice? Why don't you go watch it at Marta Kaufman's house?
Okay.
And let her pay for college.
Okay, fine. I mean, I could ask for some dirt on Everybody Loves Raymond, but you're sitting right here, so I feel like it's not,
Oh, I have it.
Okay, let's hear it.
No, David first.
I will say, here's the dirt. I will only tell dirt on myself. I made
Fine.
I may be responsible.
We want Jennifer Aniston third.
Yeah, come on. You don't have you don't.
She
you don't
wore
have
a wig.
You don't
She
have a
wore
smart
a wig. Tell it.
Is that true? Oh, right. No, she did because she had long hair for Rockstar or something, right?
I actually made that up. Alison, what have you done?
Making that up.
You've blown everything.
I will say I might be responsible for a very bad spin-off of Friends because I was hanging.
You mean
out with
every
Matt
show
LeBlanc.
that followed?
Yes.
That's the only thing wrong with Friends, by the way. Friends, great show, but the problem with it was that the network executives said, "Oh, pretty people, they're all funny." They're not. They're not. And they started casting everything with Friends knockoffs, and that's what you get.
And those were the exact shows I made fun of in Rolling Stone when I ended up praising Phil, because I said, thank God, finally a show where only the showrunner is hot.
Well, okay. Just last night, I was thinking about when I worked at Time Out New York, and they all of a sudden brought in this writer who was, no, she wasn't even a writer. She was like this woman who fashioned herself like real life Candace Bushnell type, but she was not a true writer. She was just a personality, and they gave her a lot.
She just had sex in the city.
No, she just had photos of herself lying on a bed with a laptop, and she was famous for being famous, and she was written up in Gawker all the time, and they gave her money to have a column in Time Out New York. And I'm actually being way too transparent for people who will know. But anyway, it was like there was this moment in magazines where all of a sudden they were throwing money at people who were not real writers, and it really rubbed all of us who actually worked in magazines the wrong way. David, I imagine you experienced the same thing, right? Do you remember that moment? And I remember actually, and John Mayer, who's like very, funny, witty guy, but he was given a column at one point, and I remember a lot of people being like, "What is happening?"
I am so old and so far from being a real journalist. Like, I still write, but I'm so far from the journalist world because I sort of fell into TV at a good time when journalism stopped, I don't know, paying. It just was very lucky timing for me. I don't even remember if I'm a good writer. It's like yesterday, someone sent me their book, a book they had written, someone I met, but I don't know well, saying what an inspiration I was. And I really didn't buy it. I was like, I was never good enough to inspire anybody. I don't know. I don't know if I judge journalists that harshly. I do know when I go back and try to do it, it's like a muscle that you can lose. Yeah. It's rough. It's like, also, it was a lot less rough when it was $2 a word. And when it's like when the Grammys, when a couple of years ago, when Ken Ehrlich left the Grammys, like Variety called me to say, would you write a piece about your memories of, working with Ken on the Grammys for all these years? And I said, okay, I'll do it. What do you pay? Just, and they were like, you want to get paid? Oh. I was like, yeah, I'm going to write. I want to get paid. And they told me what they paid. And I was like, oh boy, I'm glad I became a hack.
Yeah.
But the whole world's become more superficial. It's like the equivalent in casting. They now cast people based on how many Instagram followers they have. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, to be fair, that is how Laurence Olivier got his early work.
Yes. Well, I think he was TikTok.
Yeah, it was all TikTok, exactly.
Okay, so you guys have been having lunch together for 25 years. You said you should tape these conversations.
Yeah.
But tell me, like, more recently, the actual how this podcast got to be, because I feel like I sort of remember going out to dinner with you guys. Maybe it was after we were judges on a storytelling show. So this would have been maybe
that's a long time
that
ago.
Was like 4 years ago,
At least.
years ago. I think it was like the first time I went. This is way before the pandemic, but I still had been housebound because I'd had my first son, and it was like one of the first times I went out. So that would have been about 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I know we pitched it a little bit, right, David? And it was almost somewhere, and then you know what happens? The guy who liked you gets fired the next week. And then so that show's dead now. That happens to me all the time, by the way.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of hitting walls, and we were both very busy. So when they hit a wall, you stop. It's like some sort of a kid's toy,
Yeah.
But there was a moment where Phil, I don't know, I'll share this because there's a company that Allison would know, a podcast company we met with. And like you go in, you have these meetings, and like the big king of it said something like, it was like in a moment of like crazy Trumpdom. And he said, somehow I think we just made some sort of vague political joke. And he goes, really? I like what he's trying to do.
Bill,
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I remember that. We looked at each other and said, uh-oh.
Yeah, and that's like, that stopped it right there. It's like different. Those are the walls you hit, and you go, I don't want to be playing ball with these kind of people.
Right.
And I think we actually waited long enough until you actually could be paid a few, I think, Phil, you called them shekels to do a podcast. I think we actually waited for podcasts to become a business of some sort.
I only do it for the sandwiches.
Right, exactly.
So then something happened to bring it to everyone's ears starting in May.
What happened, David?
Stitcher. I think Stitcher.
Yeah, they actually pursued us, and that was very nice.
Yeah, and I have to say, I don't know if Phil feels the same way. Like when you are talking about doing something for so long, you can eventually go, you don't even know if it's a good idea anymore.
Or if it's going to happen ever. Like,
right, exactly.
yeah, we've been down this road before. Yeah, you want it. I'll believe it when I see it. And now, how many have we done already? A dozen or so?
We've aired, I think we aired our 13th, but I think we've done 20 something.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that like one of the first ones was our guy who wrote our theme song. We did we launched with Ray Romano and Brad Garrett, who obviously are hugely important in Phil's life. And that episode, it's like to play dueling Don Rickles stories with that group, and everyone had the Don Rickles story. I was like, oh boy, this is, it sort of tells you, oh, that's what the show is. It's like a storytelling, dueling stories. And then Brad Paisley, who is, was closer to me until, as I mentioned, Phil stole him. That became all about how his heroes, and it was like, it wasn't Don Rickles, but it was like Buck Owens, and it was, George Jones and Andy Griffith, these amazing stories, and Charlie Pride. And I thought, oh yeah, like we should do this show. Like it made sense to me.
We even had a coup, like I think we got somebody that no one else will ever have, and it was Elaine May.
Yes, I listened to that episode. That was such a good episode.
Thanks. It was quite a get.
Yeah.
I know it was an exclusive, because when I asked her if she would do the podcast, she said, "What's a podcast?"
Yes. And you make a comment on the podcast. You say something like, you better be careful because a lot of people are going to want you on their podcast now. But she says something like, this is my first and last podcast.
Yes. She wasn't going to do it again.
Yeah.
You know why she did it?
Why?
I can really give you a scoop. She was living in my house.
Oh, how did that happen?
Yes. She came out to get the honorary Oscar, which they give out 2 days before the regular Oscars at the Governor's Ball. And it was her, Sam Jackson, Liv Ullman, and Danny Glover. And there was a knock at my door like an hour before the thing. She was staying with us because we've become friends over the years. And she came out with her daughter, the famous actress Jeannie Berlin is her daughter. And they're staying with us, and they're getting ready to go. And there's a knock at the door. And it's our ride, and it's Bill Murray. He was escorting her and us to the ceremony and presenting her with the award. It was absolutely incredible, an incredible evening, and we had so much fun. And after she got hers, she was the first one to go. Bill Murray turns to me and goes, "You want to get out of here and go eat?" And I'm like, "Yes, Bill Murray." and we went to Musso's.
Oh,
and
wow.
we were there for 3 hours, and everybody got drunk, and they were singing in a private room. And it was, very heady evening, I got to tell you.
So when's the Bill Murray episode coming?
Well, I would love nothing more than that. He's in some situation now. You might have read about it.
Actually, I don't think I have.
There's some kind of kerfuffle with a movie that he was making, and it had to stop. And I don't really know the whole story, so I don't really want to talk about it. It's not my place. But there's something going on. But as soon as the smoke clears, yes, I want to be friends with Bill Murray. I hope everything's okay.
As soon as the smoke clears, he'll move into your house, and then
that's
he'll
fine.
There ought to be some app for podcast hosts, which is like canceled or not canceled,
right?
Because it's now we've hit the point in life where like you can't even remember, and it's like there are people we have known, and it's like there's the obvious ones. We're pretty sure we're not having Harvey Weinstein on. That would definitely not happen. But there are some more borderline issues where you begin to think, I don't know if that's if what the I will say the Elaine May episode. Totally, Phil just pulled that out and made that magic happen. And the thing that's amazing about it is she is 90. She is 90 years old. And if you listen to that episode, she not only is one of the sharpest minds you've ever heard.
Really?
She like tortured us in the most funny way. Like usually you have to marry someone for them to torture you. Like she forced me to tell a joke. Me to tell Elaine May a joke.
Oh my God, that moment where she's like, David, you say that you write jokes. Could you tell me did your butthole pucker when she asked you that? Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yes. It's like, I couldn't believe, and by the way, I'll tell you the weird, meaningful thing. I don't know if I've told you this, Phil. The other moment where she put me on the spot was I made some comment about the last time my parents got along. We went to see Lily Tomlin, and my parents both said, she's great, but she's doing Elaine May. And she took that and said, why did your parents, she basically put me on the spot and said,
yes.
Okay, first explain to me why your parents broke up.
Yep.
And I did. I literally gave the honest answer as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention this episode to my brother or sister because I said, what I said could have potentially offended them. Oh. And I got a text from my brother, and he said, David, thank you so much. That's the best explanation of why our parents broke up. You really resolved a few things for me.
So Elaine May should have her own podcast. She's a good interviewer.
Exactly. Healing families, like waspy families like mine.
Wow.
Yeah, you repressed Protestant families.
That's me.
But that was special. Wow. And it almost like that episode, like it just, I guess you must have had these episodes. This probably won't be the one, Alison, but episodes where you go, yes, I guess I should be doing this.
Yes.
Look, we have plenty of time left. This could turn around.
It could be. Alison, what was if someone is new to the podcast, what is the episode you consider like your landmark, the one you want on the gravestone?
Oh God. I mean, one that it's been a long time since I've answered that.
Because you've been doing this now how many years?
12. So a long time.
Wow. So you probably have a few where you go, yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah. One of them is my Jack Burdett episode. Do you know Jack?
Yeah. I do. He's great.
Yeah. I mean, that one's it's a sad but a moving episode.
Right. I remember that one. I love that one.
Thank you.
And what a great guy, and he really opened up.
Yeah.
Himself.
Yeah. The Jennifer Lee Pryor episode I thought was really good. Every Phil Rosenthal episode. My David Wilde episode.
Every other David Wilde episode. I know I'm a second tier guest.
No, it was, I'm going to have to come back to that. I don't know. It's like, you know how like they say like you should always have your resume updated. I should always have a good answer to that question, but off the top
have you ever thrown one away?
A resume? Oh, an episode.
No, an episode. Resumes we all throw away.
That was a serious question. I thought
David,
you were
do you
saying
mind I'm
resume as a
picking
joke.
Allison's brain because she has so much experience.
I
maybe
have
we can learn
never,
something.
have I ever thrown an episode away? No, I never have. But it's funny when you mentioned canceled guests, I was thinking I do have an episode or two with guests who have since been like lightly canceled. And I've wondered, like, should I pull that down? And I haven't. But like I said, just lightly canceled. It's not, I don't have like a Harvey Weinstein in my, repertoire or anything.
But even if you had Harvey Weinstein.
But no, I would probably still keep that up for newsworthy
Of course,
purposes.
because it's pre-canceled.
Right.
And
right.
people, it's kind of almost interesting for people to go back and hear.
Right. Right. No, I never have scrapped one. What do you have a dud that you're wondering about?
Every other one, yes. No, we love it. We love them all. And, obviously some go better than others, but that's the nature of the podcast, isn't it?
What's funny to me is that we've actually now done enough that someone can listen to one as they walk in. Kevin Bacon, we recorded with recently, he walked in saying he went hiking listening to Paul Reiser's episode. And he was like, he walked in, I think the first thing he said to us is, I'm not as funny as Paul Reiser. And it's like, and the thing is, Paul Reiser was pretty funny. And I don't know, it's fascinating. Like you get different advice in podcasts, in life, and in entertainment of any sort. And it's like, get young, hip guests only. And then it's like, you find out, no, it's like Elaine May, even though she doesn't have, I think her Instagram followers are 0, her Twitter followers are 0, and her, she probably won't say anything about it. I mean, she talked for the Mike Nichols book and basically doesn't want to admit that.
But it's a public service to have someone like that.
It's so meaningful.
Don't you have to? You have to turn the people on to stuff they don't know.
Yeah, it's so meaningful though, and I mean, I think it's like, and the word of mouth within the comedy community that you got Elaine May on. I feel like that means something too. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of the mind of like, you just, you record it and then you put it out and then you forget it. I mean, I know that there are, like Tony, who's here, he does Bizarre Albums, and that's a different style of podcast where it's much more produced. And like Tony, how I mean, I guess you don't, you don't like trash anything that you work on because you're.
Oh, far from it. I feel, Tony, what do you say every episode? I'm not here to blank.
Entertain you.
Blank.
No. I'm not here to make fun of them. I'm here to celebrate them and tell their story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think there are people who are interested in putting out like a pretty manicured product. And so if they did an interview that they don't think went well or whatever, they'll like really trim it down and they'll just put out something that's meticulous. But anyone who listens to me knows that that's not my philosophy and that's not what I do. And I do sometimes wonder, might I be shooting myself in the foot by putting out something that's like so organic, for lack of a better word, but I don't know how to do the other thing. So.
Oh, if we only put out meticulously crafted stuff, we wouldn't have a show.
Yeah. But plus, like, I think the other projects are where you do that. A podcast can be a lot looser.
It should feel like lunch for us, So
on the Elaine May episode, there's a moment where she says to you, Phil, are you going to say everything? Are you going to repeat everything I told to you in secret? And you say pretty much. But has that been an issue for you at all? Because you're friends with so many people. Like, have you wondered where the line is?
That's a great question. I don't think, have we gotten in trouble at all, David, in that regard of like I said something out of school where I you know what? Your own sense of decorum just kicks in. We know there's a microphone, right? I mean, you've been better. And by the way, I think what's interesting for people is like Phil is, I love seeing his fans because like we went to Austin and did a live show at the Austin Television Festival. And like, it was like 3 days seeing his fan base, which you think it's going to be the cast of Fiddler on the Roof. And then it's like, it's literally like, it's like girls. And it's more like
boxy bachelorette parties of the 2020s. It was like the greatest. He has great fans. It couldn't be nicer. They want selfies. It is exactly like being with a rock star who isn't having sex with the fan base. And it's so, and they're so passionate and they love him so much. But it's interesting because I think the podcast, it gives you a little, like, Phil will curse on the show in a way that, you don't hear a lot of cursing on Everybody Loves Raymond. But so far, I've said a couple things that definitely should not have been in the shows. And it took a good editor to say, yeah, no, don't tell this.
Well, we all have that where we just say, maybe you say the wrong thing or it came out of your mouth wrong and you didn't mean it that way and it could be interpreted badly. So we said, just take that out. But that's very seldom.
Very seldom. And the toughest shows we've had in terms of taking like a little grief from the guest, Elaine May, who mainly was giving it to me, but also maybe a little bit Phil. There was a little teasing going on. And then our wives, who really, like, my wife destroyed me on the episode.
It was pretty good.
And it was life-changing because she went right for the jugular of the true psychotic fact that I can't remember her birthday or our anniversary, which is...
You're saying it again to people.
No, but I now know it because of that podcast. It was so funny and traumatic.
And when's her birthday?
Anniversary, well, hold on. Our anniversary is Sunday, this Sunday night. And I know it. It's only Friday, and I know it's my anniversary.
I like that you're saying this like we should be proud of you for this. But congratulations.
Yeah, Alison, let me introduce you to men.
No, I mean, I heard this part of the podcast, Phil, and I'm going to quote Phil. Jesus Christ, David.
It was shocking.
What's her birthday?
Listen.
Oh, man.
Her birthday
have you ever?
is
No.
Her birthday is June 27th. Our anniversary is July 30th.
30th.
Good
job.
and this is huge progress for me. And by the way, the night before the podcast, I just thought, okay, what will she do to me? Because I never thought she would go on the podcast. She doesn't do social media really. She does nothing like that. But I thought the off chance she brings this up, I literally was going to go out, sneak out of the bedroom and go to her wallet and look at her birthday and look at our wedding album. And I didn't. I got too lazy.
Okay.
I'm proud of you.
How was Kevin Bacon? I used to have a real crush on him.
You still would. First of all, still very handsome, leading man, looking guy, but a little grittier, almost getting into that Clint Eastwood, macho cowboy look, all denim, by the way, right, David?
Oh, yeah. He couldn't have been still cool, still handsome, still.
Yeah, we were like, we should not be next to him.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say that I was just so thrilled because I won't reveal everything, but I researched my Bacon number. And the night before, and I realized I've only been in one movie. Phil's been in a million things, but I've been in one movie, but thankfully, the father in Footloose, the great John Lithgow, is in This Is 40, which is the one movie I'm in a yarmulke as a Jewish rock critic. So as a result, I have only, I'm very, very close to Kevin Bacon.
Look at that. And
you know what we had? You know what the lunch was?
What was it? Bacon?
BLTs.
Oh, there you go.
But there's a surprise.
There's
a surprise. We're going to reveal our surprise on that. There's still a bacon-related surprise.
Yes.
Not just the Jews had bacon. It's another surprise.
How did you guys get Kevin Bacon? Who was the Bacon connection?
How did we do that?
I think actually our producer got a note that he was doing publicity for City on the Hill, his new show, and then
his new movie.
And
them.
Right. And then I think, and that was with his co-star, though he was going to do that. And then that he wasn't available, but I think something about the show, maybe Paul Reiser put in a good word for us. Maybe there's a diner, mafia that is talking to one another. we would like every member of the Diner cast. I'm putting the word out there. We want Ellen Barkin.
Gutenberg.
We want Gutenberg, Stern.
Daniel Stern. I love Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern, I haven't seen him in years, but the first time I met him, he felt like he was a relative. He felt like he was in my family, like he could be my cousin or something.
Same thing with me and Mickey Rourke. Same thing. He's just Mishpuka. He feels like Mickey Rourke. Mishpuka.
I heard he has. You're gonna visit his surgeon.
Exactly. So give me the Mickey Rourke.
Now, some people would wonder, a podcast where you're eating but also talking.
Yes.
Because podcast listeners can be so finicky. But I know you brought up ASMR, and now there is like a whole group of people who do want to hear wet mouth noises. But in general, podcast listeners don't want to hear that. But I was looking at your reviews, and everyone loves your podcast.
Well, that's very sweet. And here's the thing. I think when you hear that people don't want to hear that, it's just like any other network note. Yes, some might. Some don't care. Mm-hmm. They just hear chewing as part of life. They've heard chewing before.
Right.
They eat lunch with their family or dinner. They've had people talk with their mouths full before. And to hear Elaine May talk with a fistful of pastrami, which is David's new favorite Clint Eastwood Western.
Yeah, exactly. It's the pastrami Westerns. Always some of the most exciting films.
It's something that maybe you won't hear anywhere else, right? Are people talking and eating. So if talking and eating doesn't bother you, Naked Lunch is the show for you.
Well, I want to say that it's really interesting. You mentioned the reviews, and I have to admit, I've read all the reviews.
I haven't. They're nice.
Well, here's the thing. They're unbelievably nice. There is just unbelievably nice. There's one relatively recent one, like 3 weeks ago. They're almost all 5 stars, but there's someone said the very obvious thing, which even my wife agrees, like more Phil, less David. There was one of those. I think Fran wrote that. And she wrote it actually not about
my wife
the podcast,
would write the opposite.
She wrote it about our honeymoon.
That's funny.
There's like people being so thankful. Like they talked about listening to Elaine May and the whole thing Phil said right away. Phil's amazing success gives him maybe that's why he's so successful, because he's so wise, but it also gives him a certain confidence to go, fuck it. Like, honestly, like it is a lunch. Like it's not like a theoretical lunch or a hook that it's based on really having lunch with real people.
Not a conceptual lunch.
No, it's
but
it's
Alison,
sandwiches.
this is the way to get them in. The guests.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to eat.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Listen, I don't
offer anything.
I knew it worked from Somebody Feed Phil. I knew that, I could get people to come along. Why? Because we're going to eat.
Right.
Everyone likes that. And it puts everyone, the other thing it does, it puts everyone at ease.
It's so smart.
The moment there's food on the table, everyone is now focused on that more than perhaps they're nervous about being on a podcast or on a show.
Yes.
Right?
And Phil, our most comfortable eaters have been the women on the show. If you notice, Alison Janney, there is some major chewing from that's an Oscar-winning chewer in her episode, and Elaine May. I think some of the men
people don't want to eat on camera, but have no compunction about it eating, on a radio show.
Right.
Do you tell them ahead of time where the food's from, or like get their, dietary restrictions?
Yeah, we send them the menu. We send them the menu. They can pick what they want.
That's smart. Oh, any interesting like dietary choices of your guests?
Yeah. Do you want to say the Kevin Bacon thing?
You say it.
He wanted veggie bacon.
What?
I know.
Wow.
I was a little disappointed, but then he tells the story that on his farm he started raising pigs and fell in love with them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes, he still will eat beef, by the way.
Wow. Sorry, cows.
Cow's not as cute to him.
My brother he has a pet pig, and people who are around pigs, this is the path they go on, it seems.
Johnny Carson used to say for years, it was an ongoing thing on the Tonight Show. He would bring it up all the time that pigs are smarter than dogs.
Yes, this is what they say.
Right? Yeah.
That's what the pigs say.
Why don't we have
for
more
sure.
pigs as pets?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
instead of BLTs.
That's right. Okay.
They are delicious.
Smart and delicious.
Yes.
If they were smarter, they would be less delicious.
Exactly right.
Ahead of time, do you guys get together and figure out, like, here's what we want to talk about?
We get some
Not
research.
really.
Mm-hmm.
We do the research, right? We might tell each other, "Oh my God, I have a great story about this one or that one," or you got to talk about this when he comes because you did this with them, right? That's all, and that's very loose,
right?
Yeah, and I think the experience of doing the show has taught us things like the Brad Paisley episode, which was super early. We had no discussion about what we're going to make it about, the sort of legends you learn from, but that sort of is a runner on the show, like the forefathers, whether it's in country music or in comedy, the people who your first heroes and your brushes with them, that's like a running concern of the show. Springsteen, because it's Phil, is a running concern of the show. But yes, we've gotten great research, and we have someone helping us now. We didn't initially, but we have someone like a reporter helping us, giving us like a couple pages of info. But I will say the best material has often come from just left field surprises. Like, it hasn't aired yet, but there's an episode with Nancy Silverton, and I didn't have, like, it's interesting. Like, I'll call Sheryl Crow and ask her to be on the show, and I'll find out, like, we met at the Sunset Marquee for that episode. Phil had never been to the Sunset Marquee, despite living here since 1935. I think he came right from the pogroms to LA and never went to the Sunset Marquee, where I lived for a long time, and where, so it's like I found it even, and Sheryl Crow was moved by that and wept. I don't know why. But Nancy Silverton, I didn't know really much about Nancy Silverton, and she has a long, successful history with Phil. But the one thing I knew is like, oh yeah, remember when I went with Jan Wenner when he was visiting LA to her restaurant, and a homeless guy came in, looked at Jan and looked at me, and begged money from me. And I mentioned that was my one story, because I'm always trying to figure out what's my one story, at least, so I'm in the episode so that I can collect my check. And she knew the homeless guy. It's like a friend of hers who she has a relationship with all these decades later. She gave me an update on him, and I was like, wow, you never know where a great story is coming from.
Wait, how did she know that? How did she know it was that guy? It
was someone who was often outside the restaurant, who she, I think, would give food to and had a relationship with, because she seemed like a lovely person. Phil, is that what your experience is? She's a lovely person.
Of course she would. If she saw the same guy twice outside the restaurant, she would do everything she could to make sure he was okay.
That's so nice.
And he's okay. I mean, as of the interview,
and they kept in touch. Isn't that sweet?
They stay in touch. Yeah.
That is really
well, she's just, the queen.
So Phil, Somebody Feed Phil, in its 5th season, and already picked up for its 6th season, right? And did you already film the 6th season?
We did.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Are you running out of places to go?
No, I haven't scratched the surface. There's whole continents. I haven't been to Australia yet. I haven't been on the show, right? I haven't been to New Zealand. I haven't been to India. There's listen, I know it says 5 seasons, but these are Netflix seasons. These are 5 episodes each season.
Yeah.
I'm come from the world where 24 episodes is a season.
Right. So you've done 1 season.
For me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by the way, you have to wait almost a year for them to then be on. And then you have to wait months for them to decide, do they want more? So you have to, it's going to be somebody push Phil.
This season, by the way, I don't know if you've watched it all. Like, is it just called Maine? Is that what it's called? The Maine episode?
Yes. Because
the Maine episode, I think it's my favorite episode the show's ever done. I and the thing is, it's like, I know all these musicians who during the pandemic, like Tony, I guess you had sort of that experience of you're used to being on the road more. And then but I've had like Brad Paisley said, it really kept me sane, the show. A lot of musicians tell me that somebody if you feel really helped them. And I experienced that as well, but I will tell you that I think the show just gets better. Like,
thanks.
The main episode is really profoundly moving and also makes me want to go to Maine, which, I lived near Maine most of my early life, and I never got there. And now,
lobster rolls.
That's it.
So without giving it away, because I have not had a chance to watch it, give me like a taste of what happens that's so moving in the main episode.
I actually have family there. I have like distant cousins there that we're pretty close to. And there's one cousin in particular who has Down syndrome, and she works at an art center where it's a beautiful art center called Spindleworks. And the community has gotten together and had the people with certain disabilities come and make art. So it's their job. It's also this incredibly therapeutic thing for people. All art is, right? Whether it be music, Tony, or arts and crafts like in school. And people come and they buy the stuff. And I'm very proud to say that since the show, first of all, my cousin Anna is a superstar.
Oh, that's awesome.
And at that place, they cannot crank out the art fast enough now. People come from around the world to go to this place. It just came out in May, and they're sold out, the place. They have to work like doubly hard now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And by the way, that's not the only thing that moved me. I'll tell you, like, I'm fascinated with couples. Like, I'm fascinated that I'm still part of one through my anniversary.
We all are.
Hopefully. Yes, believe me. But I'm like, there's a couple of relatives he has there. And I think, Phil, I quizzed you on them because it's like, there's like a farmer guy married to a Jewish hippie girl. And I'm like,
he had me shear
everything about that relationship.
He had me shear a sheep on his farm. And I got through it, but at the end, I had to turn to him and say, how did you get in our family? This is not what we do.
So tell me about a joke for Max.
Oh, well, my dad would always tell a joke. I've been calling my parents from the beginning, even on the PBS show, I would call them, and he usually had a joke. But when my mother passed a couple of years ago, I wanted to, first of all, just keep him involved in life, let alone the show. People love them on the show. I dare say that they're the best part. And I thought a good way to keep him involved without my mother would be if he had to prepare a joke every time. And so he did. And these were, again, the best part of the show. And then he passed away before the start of this season. I thought, what do I do? Mm-hmm. So I thought, let's keep his spirit alive by keeping the jokes alive. And so I have my terrifically funny friends do a joke for Max. And it's so sweet and they're so great. It's both moving and hilarious at the same time.
Oh, that's so sweet. Was that hard to do this season, having lost your dad?
Yes, but this thing keeps it sweet and nice for me. The first one was my son does one, and that was just great. And I'll call my family, if I'm lucky enough to continue, I'll call them occasionally or even have them in the episode with me. They're in the main episode with me and some other ones you'll see coming up. And then the comedians, they're so great. We have Brad Garrett, we have Paul Reiser doing the jokes and Judy Gold and people like this. They're all willing and able.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, if you love Phil's parents, I love them. I was lucky to know them and be around them and laugh with them a number of times. But if you love them like most of us do, if you're ever bored for a movie to watch, I think we've hit the point of like, especially if there's a little bit more some kind of lockdown, it's like people are going nuts. Like, what do I watch? Exporting Raymond is, I don't even know, Phil, where it's available currently.
You can get it on Amazon or iTunes right now, and there's talk of a streamer picking it up again. But it's 10 years old already.
And if you have never seen it, Tony and
I have seen it actually.
Allison, I don't know.
I have, but I could watch it again. It's been a while now.
And Russia's back in the news.
Yeah,
I heard.
I don't know if you heard.
A little bit, yes.
I spent a lot of May and June working on a Ukraine benefit show, and I did find it again, and it's fantastic. It's like the last time ever people will be able to laugh at Russia.
Well, by the way, who's going ever again?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's going to take some big, big changes for any of us to ever go again.
It's nuts.
I even refuse to have Russian dressing on my sandwich.
It's Ukrainian dressing.
Yes, exactly.
It's nuts because, growing up, Russia was the enemy. It was during the Cold War.
Right.
And then really all of that seemed to be in the past. And it's weird to think it's like we're back to that now.
Yes.
Basically.
In what seems like a worse way, doesn't it?
Yes. Right. Because that felt like propaganda, whereas this feels more like true evil.
And here, I think we should make this distinction, though, because I think this is important, and people kind of want to paint with a broad brush.
Yes.
And I've learned this from doing the show. Here's a generality. Most people are so much better than their governments.
Yes.
And this is the government, not the people.
Right. That's an important distinction.
Doing this atrocity in the Ukraine. So it's not, I hold nothing against the people. I think we can point to one guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's Phil pointing at the guy, just if anyone's listening.
I get a knock on the door. I understand you say something about the guy. By the way, that could happen here soon, too. So don't get so smug, everybody.
Yeah, and Tony, he made a very bizarre album, Putin, so you should look into it.
I never said Putin.
I think it's called...
I never, just for the record, sir, I never said the word Putin.
It was called Putin on the Hits. It was a cover.
To your point, Phil, when you say that could happen here, sometimes when I fire off my little spicy tweets that no one looks at, I think, is it worth it to say this stupid political thing that is kind of a joke and I don't think anyone's looking at,
and then alienating 40% of your audience,
and could potentially come back and bite me in the ass if things really, go south.
But there comes a point where you got to take a stand for something.
Oh yeah, and I do all the time. But I do all the time. But it's just.
But I say it to everybody.
Yeah.
John Stewart, God bless him. That rant he went on at the time of this taping, it was yesterday.
Right.
He was cursing. He was furious. It's the kind of righteous anger you ache for in this climate. Why aren't we furious? Why aren't we storming the castle? Why aren't we demanding more from our fellow human beings who supposedly represent us, right? So I get it. I understand. And I had to, repost it because it's how I felt.
Yeah.
And if you don't like me because of that, I'm sorry. Who was it who said, I think it was Paul Newman. I'm watching that great documentary. Are you guys watching that?
Mm-mm.
The Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward documentary?
No.
Oh, it's terrific. It's on HBO.
Okay,
Everyone should watch it. Because they're friggin', especially him, hero, right? We all know his reputation. He said, I didn't give up my citizenship just because I became an actor.
Yeah.
Right? So when people say, just shut up and dribble, it's sorry, go somewhere else then. We're allowed to have opinions.
And by the way, if you want a little window into Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, the stories like Allison Janney, who's a good friend of Phil's, tells, they played a huge part in her career, which I, talking to her was an amazing story. So if you want to listen to that episode after you watch the Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward movie, after you watch Exporting Rain, after you blow through all the bizarre
People are getting
albums.
a good list today.
Exactly. Stuff to do.
Okay, so we have some questions that listeners sent in on Patreon.
Boy.
I'm on Patreon. Patreon.com/Alison Rosen is where you go.
Patreon.
All sorts of, it's so good to have you back, Tony. I haven't gotten to hear that in real time. All sorts of bonus content. There are episodes of my Patreon podcast, The Friend Zone. There's a level where you can text me. I'll text you back. You can see videos of the Thursday show. I just did a fun Patreon live stream. My son did some magic tricks on the live stream. It was delightful. Once again, patreon.com/Alison Rosen. And if you subscribe for a year, you get 2 months free, or you can do it monthly. It's really up to you. Okay. Oh, and we have a song.
Questions from our fans.
Okay.
Another great song.
Thank you. West Anthony says, naked lunch is great. Is there any guest who did not care for the lunch you served them? And what is the best lunch you've eaten on the show so far?
Any guest who didn't like the lunch?
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Yes. And
everybody likes the lunch.
Okay.
Everybody likes it.
Good.
I will say that Brad Paisley drove down from Santa Barbara to do our podcast in the late afternoon. We've had a few weird timings where we've had a couple double meals where maybe we split our sandwiches, but we haven't had an undelicious meal. I will say Patton Oswalt's reaction to the Ike sandwich is probably the most sensual of all of
And
our
wasn't it called the
reactions.
Menage a Trois sandwich?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
I can't tell you how the rest of that podcast went, but the sandwich was very inspiring.
It was a three-way conversation.
What was in the sandwich?
Turkey.
What wasn't?
And what?
No, a million sauces and spices. It was incredibly
This Ike's,
sensual.
I found out, was a big hit in San Francisco first. And now it's like a mini chain. And have you had these, Allison?
No, I never
Ike's?
have. I haven't even heard of it.
I know there's one in Hollywood and there's a couple others.
I think
but
there's
I
one in
recommend it.
Burbank, actually. I
Really?
believe.
Yeah, you guys should try it.
Go over there.
Yeah, Ike's.
And by the way, we're not sponsored by them yet,
Yeah,
but we've done well.
we should be. Oh, we've had it a couple times now because we liked it.
What's the best meal? I'll go even deeper. Phil, what I will say, like, what's the best meal I've had with you? I will tell you that
Oh, good question.
we had a meal many years ago in New York where a billionaire was trying to impress Phil. And we were in a fancy restaurant, but he started bringing in food from other restaurants and ordering Petrus 1961, which is about, I think, $14,000 a bottle.
At least.
And I don't drink.
It was insane.
And I called my late great father and said, Dad, I'm having Petrus 61. I finally like wine. And he goes, it's a fucking sin that you are drinking that wine. And he died mad, but proud that I had
Jealousy.
We had a few bottles. Exactly. That's maybe the best meal I've ever had. But almost all of them, we have not had a bad one.
I think our favorites on the podcast have been Courage Bagels.
And tell them who we had Courage Bagels with. It was very important to film your new film friends.
Oh, Michelle Yeoh and Ki Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once, which features an everything bagel as one of the stars of the movie. So it was very appropriate. Have you had Courage Bagels yet, Allison?
I haven't.
So I have people, diehards from New York, real bagel snobs,
Right.
have come, and every single person I've had taste these things said it's the best bagel they've ever had in their life.
Really? All
yeah,
right.
you got to have it.
I got to make a list.
And as a
Ike's.
teaser, I'm pretty sure we had bagels with Henry Winkler, which is, that's all I ever wanted as a childhood dream. That's coming up.
Half the podcast is Henry going, oh my God.
That's the way he addresses Phil.
And we like Apollonia pizza, I think, too. That's been pretty great.
And the sandwiches from, what is that? The sandwiches we had with Ray Romano and Brad Garrett and Allison Janney, those sandwiches, the cheese crisps at that sandwich place.
Larchmont Wine and Cheese. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
That's
God.
very famous. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to one of my absolute favorite places, Malibu Kitchen, out in Malibu.
Oh,
that unbelievable deli, New York style deli that looks like it's set in a Vermont country store, and then you take your sandwiches out on the porch and you're in Malibu. It's kind of a great
It's as if my
situation.
Body is on fire, and the only thing that will put it out is if someone tells me who the billionaire was.
I'll tell you something. What was funny about him is he was such a character, a true, like almost out of a sitcom, a drunken billionaire. I called him Hiccups Rockefeller.
Oh, is it not a billionaire? It wasn't like Elon Musk or something. It's not anyone we know.
Famous. Nobody you would know.
I see.
Bummer. These are the cool billionaires. You don't know that.
I see they're on the billionaires that are on the down low. Okay, Bob Carlton says, "Tell Phil he is a delight. Phil, you're a delight. My wife and I watch him when we want to be in a good mood. What is his favorite bite of food he's had for his show?" That's a similar question. But this would be for your TV show, I'm guessing.
There's so many. I always jump to a bowl of cow soy. Have you ever had cow soy?
I have not, but Tony has. I don't even know what it is.
Actually, I remember you talking about this on an episode of Never Not Funny, and then you talked about the restaurant cow soy in Studio City, so I went and I had it, and it was great.
What'd you think? Pretty great, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
Except when you have it in Chiang Mai, Thailand, it's $1.
Wow.
Yes, which is my second favorite price. It's absolutely spectacular. Look up cow soy, KHAO, and then next word SOI, cow soy. It's a coconut broth with fresh noodles at the bottom, like fresh pasta.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
And then any meat or protein you want, like steak or chicken or shrimp or fish or tofu even. Then like pickled mustard greens and beautiful chilies and onions and scallions and then crispy noodles on top. So it ticks all the boxes of sweet, sour, spicy, hot, everything.
And Tony, I just walked past the place in Studio City because after he got back,
we used to go.
We went
right?
We would go. We went with Ray a few times. I think Ray Rano a couple of times. It's still there. It's like there's
we got to go.
Like post-pandemic, when you go. I can't believe they're still here. It's like and they were sitting outside before that was all the rage.
Yes, right. Yes. So that's a bite. I have many others.
Kathleen Brakefield says, "Southern food. Are you brave enough to give all your actual opinions on all of it? It's quite an interesting array." It's a lot of opinions. She's asking.
I've done shows in New Orleans, and we did even the Mississippi Delta. Some serious Southern food. Like I had chicken fried lobster tails. Yeah. And I thought, people, do we have to chicken fry everything? We're not fat enough as a species?
Right.
Yeah, it turns out chicken fried lobster tail. Yes, I'm afraid we do have to do that.
I want to know, how is, and I haven't seen it yet, but I saw that you had cheese coffee in Finland. What is that?
Yes. So it's like a hard, very mild cheese, and they dunk it in their coffee. I guess it's close to milk in your coffee, right?
I think I could maybe get behind that. I don't know. Could I?
So it has to be. You wouldn't do it with like cheddar cheese.
Right.
The taste would be weird. But if something is bland like milk, and you dunk this thing in, and then take a bite of the cheese, it's not bad. It's just a little odd for us. That's all.
But I think I've seen, maybe on social media, I've seen cheese tea or something. It's a hot beverage where I think they put like cheese on top or something.
I've seen butter in coffee. I haven't done that. That does seem weird to me.
I have had that actually, and it's not.
Oh yeah, how is it?
It's actually pretty good. It's just a little bit.
Really?
It's just richer. It's like richer than cream. Maybe a little greasier.
Right? I guess you don't do salted butter.
No,
that'd be weird.
No, you don't.
It's got to be unsalted.
Right, and it's just tastes like a little richer than dairy. Okay. Whitney C would like to know, what's your background or lock screen image on your phone?
David?
Mine is discussed on the episode with the wives, which is It's Paul McCartney with my two kids backstage at the Grammys, my two kids who might not exist if it weren't for the McCartneys ordering me to marry my wife, who, happy anniversary, she just came home.
Oh, happy anniversary, Fran. And sorry.
Yes, exactly. In fact, Phil, I
think you're
I'll have
2
to
days
tell
early.
you what restaurant, you know what? You can never be too early.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
You want a restaurant, David, for your anniversary?
She picked one.
She did?
And
do you feel like saying it?
I would happily say it if I was not afraid to I would stop the recording if I looked it on my phone. Fran?
This is funny.
Oh, she left. She left me. Terrible time.
You're available.
When she walks by,
hey, you want to eat Sunday?
Exactly. When she walks by, I will ask her what restaurant she chose.
So
it's on I can probably find it.
My lock screen used to be something from 20 years ago, a picture of my wife, my boy, and my girl. And it was adorable. And then I needed to wipe my phone and start over because it got some corruption or something. It wouldn't function right. And that screensaver went away. I couldn't find it. So now it's a very modern picture. I think I can hold it up and show you. It's just who's in my house now. That's Monica and Murray the dog.
Oh,
look, can you see
Monica
that?
and Murray. Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. Yes, we totally can. That is super duper cute.
On my Instagram is the Daily Murray.
Yes.
I've taken a picture of this dog. This is my favorite maybe thing in the world is this dog. We got him the day we went into lockdown at 10 weeks old, the dog. And so I don't know, there's this thing. If you started something during COVID, it might be like your heart for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were certain blessings I find that happened during lockdown, like our kids who are in their 20s were forced to be with their parents. So we got like a year and a half, 2 years with the kids at a time that maybe most people don't get to have. But if you have kids, people that are listening, that age at this time, I think you know what I'm talking about. Because when are you going to have that gift again?
Right. Right.
So there's always a blessing. I mean, listen, it was horrible. And God forbid you lost someone you loved. I mean, what could be worse than this whole thing? But if you didn't, there were certain hidden blessings I found.
Are you living like it's over? Are you living like it's behind us?
With caution, yes. I got it. I got a very mild case. Monica got a pretty mild case, a little worse than me, but nothing terrible. I know David got it. I heard, Alison, you got
Phil,
it.
Had it.
right? By the way, I never said it. I just got it. I am 2 days. I never had it. And I am 2 days negative.
2 days sober.
2 days sober. Not that yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, after all this time, and it was very mild, so I'm feel very lucky.
Oh, you're lucky.
How was yours, Alison?
It was not that mild. So
I'm sorry.
I mean, relatively. Like, obviously, I wasn't hospitalized or anything, but my 3-year-old got it, and he had only had one dose of the vaccine, like just a few days before, so he was pretty sick. And then 2 days later, my 5-year-old got it, and he was vaccinated and boosted, and his was mild. And then Daniel and I mean, and there was no attempts at staying away from the kids. So for days and, a number of days, we kept testing ourselves and we were negative, and we thought like, whoa, I think we're actually not going to get it. And then 7 days later, Daniel got it. And then I started feeling sick, and thought, but I kept testing negative. So then I woke up one morning and I felt better, and I thought, I really am special and amazing because I guess I think I'm over it. My body fought it, and then I was positive, and I thought, but I think the worst is behind me, but the worst was ahead of me. And then so I just felt pretty cruddy for some days, and it kept changing. Like I went from like cold to feeling like a really bad flu to feeling like my sinuses were burning and I had knives in my ears, and it just like.
Wow.
Yeah, but
everyone gets it different.
It's weird.
Yeah,
it's a weird
Alison,
virus.
I briefly lost my sense of style, and you know what a Bro Brummel on.
Worse than this?
Wow. Yeah.
This is him back in style.
But David, like, how many days were you sick, or were you not even very sick?
I was sick 2 days. I felt like real fluish. What's really, in my case, what's interesting is that I, by weird coincidence, was doing a charitable event with Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks the day before they flew to do Elvis, the day before they went public with the first people to have it. And I've never known, because there was no testing back then, but I then went to do a charitable event in Vegas, and in the middle of a rehearsal felt this overwhelming exhaustion, fluish thing, sort of like what I felt the other day. Went back to my hotel room, managed to go back down, do the event, but got a bad cold, the worst cold I remember in a while, and then gave it to my wife. And it's like the only time in our relationship, I think, that I just, totally gave, and she felt very sick then. So maybe you might have had it in the first early on, but I'd gone the whole time without it. And just came through it. It was very cool.
I think a lot of people get it now. They don't even know they have it, because this strain is milder for most people. I remember getting this just a couple months ago, getting what I thought were allergy symptoms. But of course I thought, these could be the same symptoms as the COVID. So I start testing, and I'm testing every other day with these allergy symptoms, keep coming up negative, until one day after 2 weeks, positive. But of course, once you see positive, when I saw positive, I go, I'm coming wheezy. I feel it. I feel it. Goodbye, everybody. Yeah.
That's common among sitcom showrunners.
I'm coming wheezy is what you have to say. Stub your toe or do anything.
Do you guys happen to have so we do a segment called Just Me or Everyone, where we share something that we think or we do, and we wonder if it's just me or is it everyone. And I often ask my guests if they have something that is just them or everyone. And we have a little song.
Is it just me or everyone?
All right.
Another great song.
Thank you. Do you happen to have a Just Me or Everyone?
David?
I have one, yes, which is in the early pandemic, one of the ways I took pleasure in annoying my wife was I constantly was saying, because I would be walking around, I don't want to say where, but our neighborhood where normally people can't walk, but because traffic in a certain area, traffic was so dead on this street, that I would walk with coyotes and walk with wildlife. And I was like, I think we're changing the relationship between wildlife and people, because they're not used to it, and I was thinking how much they liked us. But I don't know if it's me.
Did you see Grizzly Man?
No, I did not.
You know what that is, right?
Yes. I did recently. Like, there was a snake in my backyard, and I'm beginning to think the animals are now pissed that it's been too long.
That could be your age.
I don't know if exactly. No, this was not. This was not a poisonous snake. So that I don't know if it's me, but I think the animals are now bored with us, just like our spouses.
That's interesting. Yeah, I see coyotes in our neighborhood all the time.
Wait,
on the streets, on our lawn.
So you're positing that the animals are tired of us being on their turf?
Well, they're starting charmed at first. Yeah, they were charmed at first, but now they're beginning to go, okay, get the fuck out.
Like go
or they were afraid and they stayed in the woods, but now they're not afraid and they're coming, hey, we're not afraid of you guys.
Go back to your office.
Yes.
Go inside and Zoom.
Yes.
They actually said go inside and Zoom. That's why I'm not in my backyard.
So that's is it me or everyone?
Right.
That is
like
mine.
You want to know if everyone else is noticing this, or is this just your own personal horror movie?
Yes.
I see.
I don't actually go. I mean, and kudos to you for getting out in nature. Look at that. I don't do that. I've heard about it. It's been recommended to me. Yeah. Even my therapist recommends it. And I was thinking, when I had my last session, I thought, I know you recommended that I go on walks last week, and I haven't been able to implement that. That hasn't quite happened yet.
What does this thing walks?
By your therapist, do you mean Tony?
No. Additionally, I have a real therapist. No offense, Tony. So no, I haven't noticed that, but I have noticed on Nextdoor, there's been a lot of talk of coyotes. But I could see, but that's a very me kind of thing to do, though, to sort of think to myself, like, the animals are really getting a kick out of me being here. I think they are really digging what we have going on. And then to think,
that annoyed my family. My wife and kids hated me thinking this.
Why?
And
did they think it was
they
smug?
just found it. Yes, exactly. I think it was me, so they knew it was fun.
What, like you're some kind of Dr. Doolittle or something?
Dr. Julie.
Ooh, nice. You haven't lost it one bit.
I'm trying some penicillin, then I'll use it.
Yeah, right. Like you're communing with them. Like you've got your special little thing.
Yes.
Yes. I could see that. But no, I haven't personally had this relationship with any wildlife that I've seen. Tony, have you? Phil, have you?
No, I wanna yes and you and play along, but I'm sorry. I just got to be honest. No change.
I see the coyotes in my neighborhood. Yes, I see it.
Are you okay with them though? Because you're supposed to haze them.
I don't want to run into them. I'm a little afraid. I have a dog.
Yeah.
I know he's not crazy about it, but he's big enough to take care of himself, Murray.
I do tend to sing Coyote by Joni Mitchell to coyotes.
How about her the other day? Wasn't that beautiful? Did you see it?
Amazing. I worked with her at the Grammys this year.
Oh my God, that was beautiful.
And I never thought, I knew her years ago and I never thought we'd see her again. It's so amazing.
I know.
What the human spirit.
It is. It really is. Whether you're a fan or not, you have to admire someone who comes back from something like this and is just so beautiful. That was great. Not a dry eye in the house.
Phil, what about you? Do you have a
Yes.
Just Me or Everyone?
I think this is everyone. I hope it's everyone. Otherwise, I think I really have a problem. I physically cannot sit down at night. This is after dinner and watch TV without eating every potato chip in the house. Why is that? What is that? I don't understand why. It's like an OCD. I can't. Why? My eyes don't work unless I'm shoveling crap into my hole in my face. What is wrong with me? There's something wrong.
That's everyone.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think that's everyone. I think that's why I have found the times of my life that I've just been like, I am going to do the keto diet. I'm just going to cut out carbohydrates entirely. I have found
impossible.
But actually, for me, that has been easier than trying to control it at all, because I've just been like,
I see.
I mean, I think maybe I'm just kind of like a binary all or nothing person sometimes.
Yes.
It's just been easier to be like, I'm not even touching it, rather than like, I'm just going to, exercise moderation, because it's hard.
But my stupid brain says, at least you're not having sugar or cookies. But of course, the body recognizes chips and pretzels and crap like this as sugar the moment it hits your body.
Right.
So I need help.
Right.
I will say there was an episode we did recently, which will air in August, I think, a food kind of episode. We went to Pink's with some people. I don't want to get into the details, but it's the only meal I've ever seen Phil eat me under the table. Like,
excuse me.
Now, when you say that, David, you must clean that up a bit.
That's a very special
change
episode.
the phrasing a tiny bit for people.
Yeah,
I mean, I do have a reputation.
It's the only issue. It's the only episode where we had sex.
To be fair to myself, I did not have breakfast that day, and I hadn't been in Pink's in many years. And, sometimes Pink's gets a bad rap as being this kind of trashy or junky food. And I have to tell you, it was absolutely delicious. I thought everything we had was great. That crazy burger that they call Jaws, it was so good.
Yeah, I've never seen you eat. I think that's the most I've ever seen you eat in one day. And you didn't eat the most at the table. And you didn't eat the most at that table.
That's right. It's super good.
Was there a long line? I used to live near there, and there was always a line. Yeah,
always.
Not for Phil Rosenthal. There's not.
Oh, you get to special
the Pinks
entree.
were. I did not kiss Phil's ass during that episode, but the Pinks sure did. They love Phil. They're just. And by the way,
I have
the
a
Pinks
history.
Are like there's a reality show to be done. The Pinks are fantastic and great characters, and boy, do they, they would have sold their first and second born for Phil. They just loved him.
They're so cute, the Pinks. The lady has the phone cover is a hot dog. Her bag is a hot dog. They
so
wear
cute.
pink.
I didn't know that the Pinks
adorable.
were their actual name is the Pinks.
That's right. It's probably Pinkowitz or something from the old days, but Pinks.
All right. And we also have a segment called Hey, Go Fuck Yourself. David, is there anyone you would like to say something to?
Yeah, just briefly, we're living right now in a moment where people are super mad at Bruce Springsteen for charging money, for being part of the music industry, and I'm not even going to get into what I think about it, but I've seen people going after like band members' family on social media, people are now reaching out to anybody. I think there's so much since the last president. There's so much sort of roaming hatred and anger that they just go after anybody who has a Twitter account. And I want to go fuck yourself. Don't yell at the bassist wife. Don't buy tickets like I won't. But don't be mad. Don't be yelling at people.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
What about you, Phil?
Well, since we brought it up, that guy in Russia, there's no good way to spin whatever his reasoning is for doing what he's doing to the innocent people of Ukraine. There's no reason other than his own ego, his own sense of power. It's absolutely disgusting. And if this guy wants to come after me, my name is David Wild. No, so you know who you are. Here's my message.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
And mine is to get on my high horse for a second, to the forces in this country that are pulling us backwards, taking away rights and making it so that I am thinking, is this even a tenable place to live? I say,
hey, go fuck yourself.
You guys, it was so delightful having you on the show. Thank you so much. Please tell everyone where they can find you and plug all your things.
First of all, I want to say I agree with Alison.
Thank you.
I with your sentiments.
Thank you.
Absolutely right. And David, I even agree with you. You can find us at Naked Lunch Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, right?
Yep.
And David is Wild
Twitter,
About Music, right?
On Twitter, yep.
Yeah.
And Wild About Music Guy on Instagram, I think.
Yeah. Phil.Rosenthal on the Instagram. Phil.Rosenthal on the TikTok.
You're on TikTok now?
TikTok, yes.
Look at
just started.
Look at that. Amazing. And everybody,
come on, I'm cool.
Oh my God. I got to follow you immediately on TikTok. And everybody.
You'll see 2 videos.
Wow.
I actually did one TikTok with a future guest, but then I got hurt. So I might do another one later.
And everybody watch somebody feed Phil too.
Please.
Do that.
Yes, please. It's so don't miss the main episode, please.
And if you like what you're hearing, please make sure or even if you don't, make sure you're subscribed. Tell a friend, leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts.
5 stars, people.
5 stars. It helps out the show. Follow me on social media at Alison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram, and listen to my other shows, Upworthy Weekly. It's my lighthearted news podcast, comes out on Saturdays, and Childish that I do with Greg Fitzsimmons on Wednesdays. I already mentioned Patreon. Okay. Alison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. Tony, where do we find you?
Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
And my podcast, Bizarre Albums, every Tuesday. I'll leave it at that for now.
All right. Thank you so much. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen Show?